there. This is a quick little video to talk about how to add yarn into your knitting when you're knitting with bamboo. So this pattern is called Regal Del Mar, and each one of these segments is its own section of yarn. And that means that with 50 of these wedges or more in my scarf, I'm going to have more than 100 ends. And because of the way I've got the color repeats working, I don't want to carry the yarn from one time that I use it through the others to the next time I need it. So I'm going to cut it at each one. When you add yarn into your knitting, when you're knitting with bamboo, you have to remember that bamboo is not stretchy. It is not sticky, and it will not hold your tails in place for you. So when I knit normally, I would just hang the new yarn in beside my work and keep going with the new color. You can't really do that very effectively with bamboo. So what you need to do, I'm ready to add in my next color, which is the peach. So I'm going to turn my work to the wrong side. I'm going to pick up my peach color, and I'm going to tie this in one loose overhand knot around my working yarn. And I want to make sure that I leave myself a nice long tail to work in. Now that I've tied it loosely around this yarn will slide up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it right up against my needle because the next stitch needs to be in the peach color. So I'm just going to slide it up against the needle, and I'm going to snug it enough that it doesn't slide around on me too easily. And then I can just keep knitting. As you knit, you want to make sure with that first stitch that the knot stays snugged right up against your work. If you were to do this in the way I would normally add yarn, which is just hang it in there and knit on, you would get a really big gap right here that would probably drive you crazy. It would drive me crazy. I would feel like I had dropped a stitch. I would be searching for it all the time. And this will just hold it nice and closed, keep you from having a gap. When I finish this segment, I just cut the yarn and I twist it once with the working yarn and leave it. This leaves the ending tail of each segment on the right side, and it leaves the beginning tail of each segment on the wrong side. When you get ready to finish your tails off, you're going to want to weave them in, and you're going to want to leave the tails long until you finish blocking, because as you stretch this with your blocking process, these tails might sink back down into the knitting. If I wove them in and cut them off now, when they sink into the knitting, it might pop free. So I can leave these just hanging here long until I'm ready to go, and when I've got everything blocked, I can trim them off. So that I can do one you can see, I'm going to use the red as the next example to weave in the ends because you can't see the purple real well. So I'm going to go with the red. I am going to take my tapestry needle and I'm going to grab the tail that I left on the right side. I'm going to thread it onto my tapestry needle, and then I'm going to poke it through to the wrong side. And I'm going to do that in a way that I don't undo what I've done to secure the tail, which is wrap it around my working yarn once. So I'm just going to take it and go through the big hole that is here instead of back through the work where it came out, so that I'm kind of bridging over that yarn. Then I'm going to turn it to the wrong side. I've got the knot that I tied when I secured my start of the tail is right here up against the work. If it isn't right here, you can use the tip of your tapestry needle to untie that knot and loosen it up and move it back down where you need it to be. Now that the clock is finished dinging, we can finish. I have pulled both of my tails to the wrong side. I am going to tie the two tails in a square knot. And I want to make sure when I do that I don't pull it so tight that I flatten out the stitches that have been knit here. And I'm going to pull the second half really tight. That will secure my knot. Now I want to weave these tails in following the path of the yarn. So this one I'm going to take underneath this purl bump and up in the next one. And then as I go around the top of this stitch, instead of going around the top like you would normally, because bamboo does not hold on to itself, what I do is I pick up one ply of each leg of that stitch and I go underneath the ply. Then I go down in this same purl bump that I came up in the last time, up into the next purl bump. As I go around the top of this stitch, I pick up one ply here and one ply here. I feel like that just helps secure it a little bit better. You want to make sure that you don't pull this super tight because you want to maintain the zigzag effect of the knitting. You don't want to affect the tension, you just want to hide the tail behind your work. Up and down, and I'm going to do it right up to this first yarn over right here. I'm going to take it underneath, apply on both legs of this stitch, pull it through, and rethread my tapestry needle because that's how it goes in my world. And then I'm going to tuck it underneath the last purl bump. And now my red has been woven back over my red. I can take this tail and do the exact same thing on the beginning and trace it over. And what I get is this little area right here where the tails have been both woven in at least 4 stitches, usually 5, and back to the first yarn over. Now I'm ready to go on. I can do each of these either as I finish each segment, or I like to do them as I pick up to knit the next session. Like I'm going to sit down and knit for this evening. I'm going to weave a couple of these in because I really don't want to face 100 tails when I'm all finished. So just weave them in a couple each time. You'll have cut down significantly what you have to do to finish when it's all done. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy Regal Del Mar. This is Elisa with Knitting Fairy.